Hello everybody, here we are today talking about the four remaining playoff teams and the last time they all won the Stanley Cup. So before we get into that, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So yeah, just taking a look back at the last time each of these teams won a championship, and spoiler alert, none of them have won in the 21st century, and we're going to be kicking it off alphabetically talking about the Dallas Stars. Dallas last won the Stanley Cup back in 1999. They are the most recent team out of the group to win the Cup, and since then they have had some good seasons, especially in recent years, but overall they've only made it to the Stanley Cup final on one occasion since then, that being 2020, so it is relatively recent, and it's part of this era of Dallas play that has been very good for them, and they are on the brink of making it to the Stanley Cup final yet again, hoping to win another championship, which would be just our second in franchise history. Now talking about the team they're going to be playing in the Western Conference Final, that is going to be the Edmonton Oilers. Edmonton is not new to winning the Stanley Cup. However, it has been a very long time since they last won the Cup back in 1990. Since then, things have not been great. It wasn't until very recently they were able to make some good runs, as from the early-ish 90s into the mid-2010s, even late 2010s, they only had one appearance that was really deep in the playoffs, that being the Stanley Cup final back in 2006. They would go on to lose to the Carolina Hurricanes that season, but aside from that, up until the past 3 years, things were not great, but you're seeing guys like McDavid and Draisaitl and some of these other names possibly have the ability to win the Stanley Cup. And I do know we talk about it a lot, maybe a little bit too much, but if McDavid wins a championship, going to be huge for his legacy, and I think it'd be the most impactful for the team on whether or not they won the Cup and who would be benefited the most from this. And then you have the Florida Panthers. Now, Florida has never won the Stanley Cup in the 30 years that they have existed. They've had a couple of runs to the Stanley Cup final back in 1996, ended up losing to the Colorado Avalanche, and then they had one last year, which was really cool for them. They've been a team that in recent years has been really good. We've highlighted that a lot as they've won the President's Trophy. They've been able to go to the Stanley Cup final last year, and are at the stage right now where they are in the Eastern Conference Final, so they could go to the Stanley Cup final in back-to-back years. Would be a big deal for them because they've always really been a little brother in Florida, as Tampa Bay has 3 championships, 2 of those being really recent. So if they could win a cup, it could kind of be a testament to what they've done in recent years. A lot of people would make fun of the fan base, of the attendance, all those things not too long ago. But winning a championship, I think, kind of would cement hockey in, Florida, Southern Florida, if you will. And I'm not saying that that is necessarily a problem at the moment, but in the eyes of a lot of people that are more of the negative Nellies, this would kind of get them to hush a little bit. And then you have the New York Rangers, and while the Rangers aren't exactly a team that's won a ton of championships in their history, they have won 4. Problem is, the last time that they did so was back in 1994. So again, like the Panthers, it's been a minute, and they are a team that's been relatively good, especially in recent years, and for a long time with Henrik Lundqvist. They did have some good seasons. The mid-2010s, they were on the verge of going to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals, and the last time that they made it was in 2014, as they were in the 2015 Eastern Conference Final. Back in 2014, they lost to the Los Angeles Kings in, I believe, 5 games, but it was a closer series than what I remember from that. A lot of one-score games. But New York, this era is kind of like what we've seen with the Oilers, as in recent years, this bunch has been able to go on some deep runs. Now, they have had some better runs over the past 30 years compared to like Edmonton, but looking at this side, they are looking to win another championship for New York, in the first in over 30 years, as they are putting possibly one of the best runs in Rangers history on the map, and maybe this is the year they end the cup drop. So in my parting thoughts, what exactly do I have to say with all this? My thing is, sometimes you'll see teams that will go out and be in a spot later in the playoffs where you're like, man, I really don't want them to win because they've won a lot recently, or, they've got a championship in recent years. And looking at this bunch, you really don't have that. Now, maybe somebody's not a huge fan of the Rangers, maybe somebody's not a huge fan of the Oilers. Whatever the case is, you could probably make your case for any NHL team, and I know people would, but looking for the majority of fans, I think they'd be relatively okay with maybe most, if not all, of these teams winning a championship. And this would be kind of good too, because in recent years, we haven't had a lot of teams haven't won a cup in a minute. Excluding 2019 and 2018, when 2018 the Capitals won the Stanley Cup, and then 2019 when the Blues won the Cup, it's now been since really the early 2010s that we've seen teams in long cup droughts. Looking at some teams like Chicago and Los Angeles and Boston in the early 2010s, yes, they did in those long droughts, but Chicago and LA ended up winning multiple championships. Then it was Pittsburgh that won back-to-back, but they won in 2009. Then, of course, you had the Lightning, ended up winning as well back-to-back, but their Stanley Cup drought wasn't even really a drought as it went back at 2004. So it has been a little bit of time since we've seen some teams win and, get another championship for a long time. So I know people point and say St. Louis and Washington weren't that long ago. That's true. But in the broad scheme of things, over the past like 10-ish years, maybe even 15, it's kind of been a minute. But anyway, out of this bunch, who do you want to win the Stanley Cup? And would you be okay with all 4 of them winning? What teams would you not be okay with winning? I'd like to know that as well. Let me know that stuff down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And you will love hockey, alright. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.